We don't play the social game. We are social. Power 98.5. You're listening to Power 98.5, powered by United Angels Dream, your number one resource for public relations, entertainment, and multimedia. Contact them today at unitedangelsdream.com.
Prepare yourself.
Okay, let's go.
I always love that even when things turn out a certain way, Aaron, they always get resolved bigger and better, especially with Mr. Pete Koch we're interviewing today.
Yeah, this will be a fun one today. I get to flip the script on Pete. I was on his YouTube show a while back.
He did an awesome job with you, and I'm digging his show. It's awesome.
Yeah, Pete's the epitome of health and longevity.
Pete, are you there?
Yes, good to be with you.
It's great to have you here. And for all of the listeners that are listening here live on air with Stephen Koch on Power 98.5, Pete Koch, I'm going to tell you, what a list of accomplishments. Host, actor, fitness expert, retired NFL defense end, creator of and the host of Breaking It Down with Pete Koch. Is there anything else?
Well, I'm just trying to contribute, do my thing, to give back. I've had a blessed life, and I appreciate that introduction. But when I got to a certain point in my life where my entire life, adult life, I've been interested in physical fitness and helping people, and I realized that that's probably my calling. I mean, I have many interests in my life. But fitness means the world to me. I'm passionate about it. And for many successful, very smart people, the fitness component of their life is missing. And I'm just trying to touch as many people as I can and help them out.
If we can just recap on something that's very interesting. You're from Long Island. What brought you to California?
When I was in high school, I was a member of a local bodybuilding gym in Lynbrook, for those folks familiar with that area. And I was interested in bodybuilding as a teenager. And I also knew that it would benefit me, the strength training and the building of the body, because I was real thin. Very tall, but real thin as a 16-year-old when I first joined this gym. And I was that kid that played whatever season it was. If it was the spring, I was playing baseball. If it was the winter, I was playing basketball. In the fall, I was playing football. And I knew that I needed to get stronger. And my football coach, who played line. He was an offensive lineman at the Naval Academy. He was the center for the legendary Roger Staubach. And he said to me, Pete, you've got to get stronger. So we had a little crummy weight room in the gym, but I joined this bodybuilding gym because I wanted to get with the big boys. There I met guy that was building his body, and he was about 10 years older than me, and he was kind of like a big brother. That was our relationship. His name was Perry, and he was an actor in New York City. He had a side hustle like most all actors. He had he was a small business owner. But Perry and I became fast friends, and fast forward after college, so go 5 years forward, because I went from high school to the University of Maryland, played football there, was captain of the football team there. And then I went to the NFL, and Perry and I always stayed in touch. During that time, he'd moved. He really wanted to go and get into Hollywood. And, it's just, it's calling me. I've done everything I can do in New York City. I did some plays and commercials, and he moved. And then he got me excited about the prospect of acting in the off season, in the NFL off season. That's kind of the beauty of playing in the NFL. We've got of all the major professional team sports, Football allows for the most flexibility to get some things done for about 5-6 months, depending on if your team went to the playoffs or not. But so I'd be able to commit 5 months a year to acting, and he got me started, and off I went.
Aaron?
I mean, that's impressive to me. I never knew much about Pete's NFL career. That's cool hearing about how that whole thing came about and why he moved to LA. Because I've only actually known Pete since I moved to LA, actually, and we met at Gold's in Venice. So, what do you think? What do you think about football now versus when you played, Pete?
You know, the game of football. Look, I'm so biased. I'm so passionate about the game. I've seen in the 35 years since I played in the NFL, I've seen the pro football game, and for that matter, the college football game increase in popularity. You know, I couldn't be any happier about both, because I'm big believers in these games, and I compare them to the other professional team sports, baseball and basketball, and NFL football has gone racing past the others in popularity. I think there's plenty of good reasons why that is. I think it's interesting that it's a game that you don't have to have played yourself to appreciate, and that's why, you know, a solid 50% of all the great fans of the National Football League, one of their teams of the National Football League, are women. Women aren't playing. Very, very few women are ever going to play contact football. But there's something about the competitive nature of the game, the way I think people are attracted to see teams, large teams, 11 versus 11, and understanding the amount of teamwork and discipline that goes into executing a good football play. It's there's many reasons to be attracted to the game, and I couldn't be happier. Not only for the success of the NFL right now, but in particular, the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl this past year. And that's where I spent most of my career. I spent 1 season with the Cincinnati Bengals, 4 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then I finished with the Raiders. And it wasn't, you kind of, when you first get in the league, you figure, I'm probably going to end up with one team, kind of be kind of cool to go the whole time with one team. But because I got cut by a couple of teams and then, kind of moved around and played for 3 teams, it was a blessing, because I was exposed to 3 different organizational styles, 3 different great cities, and all the 3 different sets of teammates and coaches. And at the end of the day, it's really all about those relationships and the ability to learn from other people, kind of grow yourself personally, because these are formative years. You're just a guy in your 20s. So that turned out to be a blessing. I mean, the fact that I finished with the Raiders, that was when they were in Los Angeles. That's the Howie Long, Marcus Allen, if people might remember those days. And that organization has still an important place in my life, because the Raiders have a very a truly outstanding alumni program. So they stay in touch better than any other of the 32 NFL teams. They are great about staying in touch and honoring their alumni. So the Raiders alumni organization is outstanding, and I'm just couldn't be more thrilled to be a part of it.
Well, I guess you'll be coming to Vegas more now in my hometown, because that's where they are.
I
man.
will.
The practice stadium is actually right down the street from where I live.
Oh man, that's awesome. I can't wait to see it. In actuality, there was a program that should have gone off about 6 weeks ago. It was in my schedule because the Raiders alumni president had invited all of us former Raiders to a private tour of the brand new stadium. So they were going to bring everybody from, no matter where you live, they were going to fly you to Vegas, put us up at a hotel, show us around the stadium, take, when the organization picks up the tab for this make sure the guys were fed and having a good time. And unfortunately, due to COVID, that got canceled. So, that's disappointing, but I'm very excited. It's going to be kind of weird, I guess, to watch games this year without anybody in the seats. But the main thing is that if the season can actually happen, if these guys can play, I'm excited for that because hey, we all need something to cheer for these days. So that's my hope.
Yeah, there's something very American about just having football playing on Sunday, even if you're not doing anything but listening to it in the background, the whistles. And I'm really curious to see how, like you just said, how it's going to look with no crowd, because I mean that's the biggest part of all the sound is hearing the crowd cheer and boo and all that stuff.
I think it's going to look a little bit weird, but my feeling is, just thinking of it a little bit with my eye that I've trained as an actor is I think that if they can, what I would do if I was directing or an NFL production, which is really what it is, because at the end of the day, the NFL and the reason that these guys can make these outstanding salaries is because it's such a successful TV product. It's what it is. That's what enables the owners to make that much money and then go ahead and pass some of that off in compensation to the players because it's so successful on TV. But when, there's lots of things that you can sort of fudge in filmmaking. If you've got a couple actors trading dialogue, for example, in a house, but the set isn't very impressive, and you want to kind of fudge that, all you got to do is kind of, change the lighting, make sure it's kind of the background lighting is dark, push in closer on the actors, more super tight cowboy type of camera angles. And I suspect they'll do that. They'll come really close down on the players and the team and really try to not get any wider than the sidelines. But the only time for sure, like when there's punts and kicks and the cameras typically track the ball when it's way up in the air, then it'll be evident that there's nobody in the stands. But I think there's a number of things that I would expect that the production to do to kind of eliminate that distraction from the audience and focus on the play. So I'm hoping to see that. I think it's going to be okay.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I know we're a little bit crunched on time. I wanted to ask you two questions, Pete. One, how often do you get compared to Richard Gere in terms of your looks? And two, what was it like filming Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood? Because before I joined the Marine Corps, I must have watched Heartbreak Ridge probably at least a dozen times. And obviously you were it's funny looking back now, not knowing, who you were at the time, but now that we're friends, and I'd love to hear a little about the Heartbreak Ridge story.
Yeah, absolutely. The Richard Gere thing is interesting. That started happening when I was in my 20s. And if you're old enough to sort of back on this, or if you're any age and you've ever seen an Officer and a Gentleman, and then you'd know that Richard Gere through the 80s was late 70s and 80s was a giant movie star. And people would tell me that mainly it was sort of the look that he and I had a resemblance in the eyes in particular. It's very flattering. But I guess he's about 15 years older than me. But and
nowhere near as good shape as you are, by the way. So everyone knows.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. He's but between American Gigolo and Officer and a Gentleman, I'm old enough to remember firsthand what a giant movie star he was. So that's a compliment. I continue to hear that, and it's always been kind of fun. Hey, anybody ever tell you look like Richard Gere? Thousands of times, but I just say, oh, you know what? I've heard that a couple times, but it's been thousands of times, but not bad. So appreciate that. Heartbreak Ridge was an enormous blessing, and one that keeps on giving. And I certainly couldn't have known that day. Again, the reason I ever moved to Los Angeles was my buddy Perry from Rab's Gym in Limbrook, Long Island. And he encouraged me. I got an agent. This was the first off season that in the first year this was just so crazy. I was just so fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, because, for anybody out there who's ever thought, man, I'd like to get into that business. How the heck do I get in that business? And first of all, you have to be in some way, shape, or form in position to be successful. And there's an expression I like, and I talk about it all the time when I talk to my folks when it comes to physical fitness, but it also pertains to so many things in life. In that, many things in life, you're going to need somebody to assist you on that journey. For example, actors do not work in isolation. They work with agents. They work with representation. It could be an agent, it could be a manager. And those are the people that you need in your life. Most times, not always, but as an actor, it's just about every single person is highly dependent upon their representation. Who is that? And what is the job of that agent? To position you for success, to give you a chance. And that's what my agent did, because if you don't have any representation, it's going to be very difficult to get any progress. And so I had agents come in all different forms. Some are live in multi-million-dollar houses and having, live in gigantic offices on the 40th, floor in Century City, and others are entry-level agencies. I had as an entry-level actor, I had an entry-level agent. God bless him, Joe Kokowitz, and but he saw an audition available for a movie they were casting at Warner Brothers in this was 1985, and it had no details, did not have a name, and it didn't say who the star of the movie was or the director. Now, this is how Hollywood works sometimes. More times than not, it'll say, hey, this is a Richard Gere movie, and it's being directed by so-and-so. But this was the case. It was a mystery. Who knew why? But he submitted my picture and resume. My resume, it had nothing on it. It had my name, my height, my weight. And you got to try to fudge something when you don't have anything to put on there. And but something resonated with the casting people. It was Phyllis Huffman over at Warner Brothers at the time, big casting person, and I got an audition. So Joe, my agent, says, hey, guess what? You got an audition. Drive over to Warner Brothers tomorrow. And by the way, here's the sides. The sides are a small portion of the script where the dialogue is that the casting agent wants to see you read and trade dialogue. So it was 5 or 6 pages, and I was, oh boy, got to learn these lines. And we know doesn't have too many lines, but there's a few lines for me to learn. So I was nervous as hell, but I drove over to Warner Brothers the next day with my sides in my hand, and I'd never been on the lot before, and I asked the security person, can you tell me how to get to this building? Oh, yeah, you got to go here, go to Studio 21, make a right, and then you'll see the Soundstage 15, make a left, right there. So I get there, and I walk in. It's like a Tuesday afternoon, and it's, about 95 degrees out, and I walk in this room to read for the role of Swede. I knew that. I had the sides in front of me, and I walk in, and there's 40 guys as big as me, and I'm not small. So, right, at that time, I'm 6'6", 290 pounds, and I walk in, there's 40 guys packed, and standing out of full up all the chairs, standing, hovering around the outside. Everybody was reading for Swede. I mean, there was guys up to as tall as like 6'10", Nobody was shorter than about 6'5". There was some guys 320 pounds, bodybuilders, wrestlers. Incredible. Like bigger than an NFL locker room full of guys. I'm like, wow, huh? Because the script read 6'7", 285 pounds. Okay, well, I'm at that time like 6'6", 285, 290, pretty close. But all these guys were close. And that was the first audition. And that doesn't even count the guys that had already auditioned that day. And the guys, when I was walking back to my car, were streaming in to get their chance to audition. Well, I got a call back. 2 days later, I got a call. Hey, guess what? Go back to that. You're going back over to the Warner Brothers lot, and they want to have you do it again. So I went back in. Now there's a smaller group of guys. And I just did the same thing. I had my lines memorized, and I did my thing. And about a week goes by, and then my agent says, I think this thing is dead. I haven't heard anything. But then a couple more days go by, and he calls me, and he says, you got it. It's unbelievable, bro. You won't believe this. He goes, not only you in this movie, this is a Clint Eastwood movie. Because then they had to spill the beans and say they were being quiet. Because they didn't want so many people trying to, get into the audition for a Clint Eastwood movie. That's why they keep it quiet. And but then I learned, and then 3 weeks later, I was down at Camp Pendleton in San Diego, and I was making a movie.
That's so freaking cool. Yeah, that had to have been pretty intimidating for a first time audition. Going there and
oh my God, I'm scared to death. Yeah.
In the midst of that many people.
It didn't show in the film. It sure didn't show.
Oh, thanks. No, yeah. Once, the boy, I tell you, the work is the stressful part is, it's true. It's really the audition. And that's where actors really work to build a career. And I've certainly had big sweeping highs and sweeping lows. Where there was a point over the years where I had about 75 auditions for a mixture of television work and film and commercials. And I went 0 for 75. And I thought, whatever it takes, I don't have it. And this was years after Heartbreak Ridge. So it's been a very challenging career, sometimes no reason to the madness, but to keep auditioning so that you book something on the 76th audition, that's like, that's where I feel like I've earned my money because I hung in there. I continued acting classes. I continued reading. I continued to be, a careful observer of people and to really dive into filmmaking and educate myself on, what are the details to be a better actor. I know I needed to learn a lot more just because I had an early success with being casted in Heartbreak Ridge. I mean, no one's ever going to say, wow, the Swede, what a dramatic character he was. He was amazing. It really wasn't the case, right? I'm aware of that. But I was the right guy. I fit the bill, it was casting. And that's been such a blessing. And really, and I'll say this, Aaron's heard me say this before, but I'll always say it associated me with the United States military in a way that I'm eternally grateful to. I was like probably most kids, growing up in the 60s and 70s without a military and without any military folks in my family or my background. My father fought in World War II, and he was in the Army and he served in Europe for 18 months. But for some reason that I'll never find out, he didn't like to talk about it. He didn't like to talk about the war. He never talked about it. Which is a shame, but he didn't. So I was sort of indifferent about the military. And but once I began working on Heartbreak Ridge, and working with the real recon Marine folks that served as our, not only they served as background extras in the film, but there was about 6 or 8 guys that they cast that were with us all the time. And so they were part of our unit. So they were, they did the background stuff, and they did double duty as technical advisors to guys like me, which and so we all were, as actors, were indebted to, sure we actors didn't get things, perfect technically, but in a short span of time, they kind of made sure that we were safe with these weapons, and even though there was no live rounds, of course, but you can still do damage with for sure, with blanks, and that we were safe, and that the things that we were doing looked pretty A-OK. So I got a great appreciation for the military, all branches of the military. Don't forget the Coast Guard, like my Coast Guard buddy always says. Right. And God bless them for what they do. So, and I always, I try always to, because I've had people, reach out to me through social media, my website. It's never stopped. Prior military, mainly Marines, but from every branch, and say that they remember me from Heartbreak Ridge, and it had some influence on maybe joining the military or working out, and or just creating an awareness to the Marine Corps. And I feel somewhat responsible, because this is a job that not everybody lives through, actually. So, unfortunately, so I feel a responsibility to that. I'm always trying to say, like I said to Aaron, I think on a few occasions, thank you for your service, and I mean that. And that's the best I can do. I've got a complete and utter respect for the folks that, because it's all volunteer, that work and to serve and protect us Americans through the military, and I thank all of them for their service.
Well, I appreciate that, Pete. And in the Marine Corps, especially, the movie Heartbreak Ridge it's become a classic. You can't deny it. And even my old commanding officer, I think he follows you on Instagram, because I've seen him like some of your stuff, or he's mentioned you before, Two Full Hun Tactical. That's my old commanding officer back in D.C. But okay. It seems like you're doing good, man. Every time I turn the TV on, you pop up on some new commercial. I think the last one I saw was there was some sleep commercial you just did, and before that it was Kay's Jewelers, and I think there's another one recently that came out too.
There's Apple Spot. And
that's right.
I've been blessed that way, and I continue. So there's a little bit of work out there in Hollywood's kind of coming back bit by bit, I should say, and I think and hope that you'll see more of me there. It's a challenging time, for all of us. Hollywood is no different. But no, I appreciate that. It's sticking with it through thick and thin. So, and I know you're in the business, so you've seen the challenges of it, but it's also a business can be terribly rewarding. You gotta say, what in the world keeps me going and keep going to all these auditions? And it's because I just had a self-tape audition. So that's for those who don't know. So actors these days, almost 99% of the time, we tape ourselves with a smartphone. Just about every actor needs a tripod and a wall that's free of any pictures on it, so that it's got a neutral background, so that you can audition yourself and send that through your agency for whatever the audition is for, whether it's a TV show, a film, or a commercial. And I put one together this morning. So this is the nature of the business now. So it continues to move forward in a different way, but a very practical way. Self-taping, you're isolated, and you're just recording your performance. Forecasting director on your own. Sometimes I rally somebody up to help me out with that, but today I did it all by myself. That's where the business is at now. And I've also got a stunt coordinator buddy that's starting a film in Vegas actually next week. So that's exciting. I mean, that means it's starting to happen. There's going to be, the sets will be quite different. I shot a commercial a month ago, and everyone was social distancing and wore a mask. And as the actor, I was the only one removing my mask, and I only did that, right before the director said action. So all of this is possible. It feels a little bit, weird to do it until you do it. And but we keep pushing forward. So we're getting there. I'm excited for that. No one said it would be easy.
I'm chomping at the bit too, just to get back to work. I mean, this is the longest I've not worked or been on a set, and I mean, since I got in the business, it's really weird. I mean, especially since I moved to Vegas too, just being kind of disconnected. But that's the beauty of where things are right now, is that we're able to still do the auditions, in your own home, in your office, and submit them. That's what I'm grateful for now. So I have a feeling those auditions are going to start flooding in for everybody soon. Yeah,
we're getting, it's happening, and no, it is very exciting. And my as Aaron knows, a great friend and loyal personal training client of mine. I'm really not looking to so much take on personal training clients, but I help people with their training programs online. But it's an actor named Benicio del Toro, who won the Academy Award for a film named Traffic, and people might know him from Sicario or a number of films, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Speaking of Las Vegas, but he was supposed to begin a movie March 1st, and he's now starting it September 1st. So that's like a hard green light go for him. And I'm excited for him. I'm helping him get into shape now, and he's hopeful that it's going to be very safe, very organized, a little bit different. But when actors of his caliber are getting back to work, and that'll be like 5 weeks, I think he starts. That's good news for all of us.
I have to say this to you, Pete. You still look freaking phenomenal. And there's 3 soap operas I cannot believe you were not on, or at least casted for. All My Children, Days of Our Lives, and Young and the Restless, especially Young and the Restless. How the hell did you not land a role, or why didn't anyone land you a role on there?
Well, here's a quick Young and Restless story for you. It was 2 years ago that I had a non-speaking role. It was fine. They paid like a speaking role, but it was just a day on the Young and the Restless. The Young and the Restless, Old and the Beautiful. I got them mixed up, but the one they shoot here at CBS, and I spent it. Previously, altogether I've worked in a not a recurring or regular role, but as a day player role on 3 different soap operas. I've probably done a sum total of about 8 days of work. Most of that was back about 15, 20 years ago. But I recently, again, just 2 years ago, I was back on that set. And here's the thing. The sets are compact. If you notice, the actors really don't move anywhere. When they walk into the living room, it's like 2 steps, and then they planted, right? And then they start, trading dialogue. And then when they walk away, the camera cuts off. They don't go anywhere. I mean, everything's really small. It's compact. It's just the nature of this style of filmmaking, right? It's a soap opera, and this daytime, it's daytime drama, and you take someone my size, it like triples it on this set. I'm just saying, it's just I look like a just giant And they've got all these lovely, the most beautiful people, these little model type people. And I mean that in a loving way. By the way, my respect for daytime drama actors is beyond. And one quick story on that is Lorenzo Lamas.
I remember him.
I've known, right? I did the pilot episode. I was the guest star bad guy on the pilot episode of Renegade, Lorenzo's show that ran for 8 seasons. They used to shoot that down in San Diego. And he and I have been friends ever since. We stay in touch. And he's done so many different things in his career, but he spent 1.5 years on a soap opera. Forgot which one. That's going back about 6-8 years. And I said to him, how in the world could you remember all that dialogue? Because it's incredible. I just don't have the mind to remember all that dialogue. I mean, these people have to learn like 15 pages a day, the regular characters. It's mind-boggling. And he said it was the hardest thing he ever did. And he'd walk around all weekend with the script in his back pocket. And every time he had 5 minutes, he was trying to learn his lines. He said it was incredibly difficult and time consuming. But so I'm not really cut out to do daytime, and I'm just too big. That's not a big man's place, I don't think. But I have total and odd respect for the actors that take on. It's a very, very challenging category of professional acting.
Yeah, completely understand.
I know we're a little short on time, Pete. I wanted to ask one more question before you have to get off about your social media, because you do this thing called 30 seconds
making you better. Basically.
Yeah. So it's what was the inspiration behind doing that, and have you seen what you've done with it grow? Because it seems like you've developed somewhat of a following just from doing those videos, and you've interviewed some really cool people out at Goals in Venice. So I dig what you're doing.
No, thank you for that. And I call it Making You Better 30 Seconds at a Time. And they're basically fitness tips. So there's a Instagram, you can go longer now, but initially when Instagram was around, is the maximum length of when they added video. At first it was just pictures, but then a few years ago they added video, and the maximum you can go is 59 seconds, 60 seconds. And then I thought I said to myself, they're adding video. And at the same time, I had, different thoughts going through my head, because I had read a quote by Albert Einstein, and I couldn't get rid of it. And he said, aspire not to be a man of wealth, rather aspire to be a man of value. Not wealth, but value. And I was like, I've been so blessed to know I've had great mentors in fitness. I've got a lot of formal education in physical fitness, strength training, and fat loss, and changing body composition. And I also have a fair amount of education and passion for positive psychology, way of positive thinking. And when you put those two together, it's very, very powerful when you're working with people, when you're training yourself, and also when you're trying to help people professionally as a trainer. You've got to keep it positive, especially people that are overweight. With 72% of the adult population of the United States is overweight, 42% is obese. So they're not usually real happy, with things. There's a lot going on there, sort of emotionally often. So I was thinking about Albert Einstein's quote, and I said to myself, maybe I can help people if I just give them a fitness tip. Let's see here. I've got 60 seconds to do it. Well, who's got 60 seconds? It's kind of a joke, but it's true. But so instead of saying making you bad, maybe I give you a health tip, a fitness tip. And if you can employ this, glean something from it and add it to your fitness, or get motivated to work out, maybe I've helped you. And I certainly haven't charged you anything to do it. And so I think it's got some value. So and I was going to call it Making You Better 60 seconds at a time. And I thought, I'll just say 30 seconds at a time. It sounds better anyway. But the clips are anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. And then I place them on, usually 2 or 3 a week. go out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn actually is where I get the biggest response. And it's been great. I've been doing it about 2 years now. And, literally every day I get a message from somebody saying, these mean a lot to me. These videos are getting me off my ass, and they're helping me. And I learned something, maybe a different way to hold a dumbbell while you're doing a row exercise, or a way to develop your back, or whatever. It's all out there for people to try. I want people to be safe and happy and feel good. I know this, that when you're physically fit, you're going to be healthier. When you're healthier, you're going to be happier. Happier people make for a better society. I want people to be happy because I live in this society. Everybody benefits. All boats rise. So I want people to be fit. I want them to be happy. These are the people that are around me in my life. I'm not a hermit. I don't live in isolation. I'm around people. We all need to be. And the happier they are, the better my life is going to be too. And I know how to help people get physically fit, which is not the only one, but a big component of being healthy. So why not try this? Go ahead and take a look at making you better 30 seconds at a time. Employ something you see there, share it with somebody who you think could benefit from it. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, you put out really great content, and it's not all just specifically focused around being in the gym either, because I've seen you do stuff outdoors and with minimal equipment and actually no equipment. So it's one of those things where you see this type of content on social media, which I think is so great because people can actually get stuff from it, and at the same time question why am I sitting on the couch eating ice cream right now when I could be out doing something to make myself better, and you give people tips on how to do that. So I love it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm passionate about it.
Pete, thanks for being here today. And it took a little over a year and a half. Aaron, we both know Pete and I know this amazing photographer by the name of Ben that set us up, and it's quite interesting, a year and a half later, and now Pete's live on Power 98.5.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on, Pete. I appreciate you.
Yeah, Steve, Aaron, I appreciate you both. It's been my pleasure. Keep up the good work.
I'll be back out to LA sometime beginning of September, end of August. So hopefully I'll see you then. Absolutely.
Keep you posted. We'll get out.
Pete, any closing thoughts or anything you want the listeners to know about you and where they can find you?
Yeah, no, it's Pete Koch, Petekoch, just those 8 letters. And you can find me if you're interested on social media. And I'm just trying to put a positive message out there. So trying to spread that word. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for that.
You deserve it. Pete Koch, everyone. You're listening to Live on Air with Stephen Cuoco with co-host Aaron Williamson on Power 98.5.
Socials and let's connect.